welcome to ERi-TV English News Broadcast. Reporting live from the headquarters in Asmara is me Bersabet Tagle, and these are the major headlines for today. Tour of inspection to developmental sites in Halhal subzone. International Women's Day celebrations in the diaspora. Syrian president arrives in Moscow for talks with Russian president. And inflation in Argentina surges past 100% in historic spike. On your local reports, the governor of Ansaba region, Ambassador Abdullah Musa, conducted tour of inspection to developmental sites in Halhal subzone. In the course of his tour on March 12, accompanied by agricultural and construction experts as well as others, Ambassador Abdullah conducted discussion with administrators and concerned bodies for finding lasting solution for the road connecting Halhal with Gabe Alebu that has been damaged due to flooding. Ambassador Abdullah was provided briefing on the progress of the construction of the two dams in Melepso and Inner Kuwait administrative areas that are being expected to ensure potable water supply to the public and in the development of irrigation farming. Ambassador Abdullah also called on the public for strengthened water and soil conservation activities with a view to boost agricultural production. Nationals in Germany, Italy and the Netherlands enthusiastically celebrated International Women's Day under the theme Eritrean Women Unwavering and Undertaking Sweats to Cultivate. At the celebratory events organized in the German cities of Düsseldorf, Mainz, Stuttgart, Kaiserslautern, Frankfurt, Rollingen, Darmstadt, Bielefeld and Nuremberg, the nationals expressing pride for the International Women's Day being celebrated during the exceptional period in the Eritrean history, articulated commitment to live up to the expectations. The events were attended by Mr. Johannes Waldu, Charge d'Affaires at the Eritrean Embassy, Mr. Kibra Abtakheste, Eritrea's Consul General in Frankfurt, Mr. Kahasai Tawelde, Head of Public and Community Affairs, as well as a number of nationals, and was highlighted by briefings focusing on the history of women's struggle for gender equality, as well as cultural and artistic programs. Likewise, the International Women's Day was colorfully celebrated in the Italian cities of Bari, Milano, Palermo, Parma, Pisa and Roma with patriotic zeal. At the occasions, Ms. Negisti Tsegai, head of the National Union of Eritrean Women branch in Italy, called for transferring the shining history of the Eritrean women to the young generation and for consolidating it with development. Mr. Fissahat Petros, Eritrea's ambassador to Italy, Mr. Taghlasembet Imam, Eritrea's consul in Milano, Mr. Johannes Debas and Mr. Girmay Habte Mikael, head of public and community affairs, as well as Friends of Eritrea, delivered messages of solidarity. The International Women's Day was also celebrated in the cities of Amsterdam, Rotterdam, Utrecht, Amersfoort and Zwolle, the Netherlands. At the events, Ms. Elsa Seyum, head of the Union branch in the Netherlands, called for strengthening organizational capacity and participation in the national affairs. On your last local report, seminars on law have been organized to the public, honors of social service provision institutions and students in the subzones of Edaga Hamus, Foro, Keren and Logo Anseba. At the seminars, commanders of police stations in the subzones explaining the crimes and offences committed, as well as traffic violations and property damage in the areas, said that not knowing the law does not make anyone free from accountability. They also called for proper understanding of law and cooperation with the police in controlling crimes and offences, indicating that nurturing law-abiding youth that adhere to the noble societal values starts from the families. The commanders called on parents to follow the daily activities of their children and owners of social service provision institutions to refrain from activities that could initiate violence, pointing out that such seminars will have significant contribution in raising the awareness of the youth on law. The participants called for its sustainability. Dear viewers, coming up will be international news after the short break. Welcome back. Syrian President Bashar al-Assad has arrived in Moscow at the head of a ranking delegation for high-level talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Assad arrived in Moscow on Tuesday, heading a large ministerial delegation, Sana reported. He was welcomed by Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Mikhail Bogdanov. The Kremlin said in a statement that Putin would be holding talks with the Syrian chief executive on Wednesday. Topical issues of further development of Russian-Syrian cooperation in the political, trade, economic and humanitarian spheres, as well as prospects for a comprehensive settlement of the situation in and around Syria will be discussed, the Kremlin said in a statement. Russia played an important role in helping Damascus out after the Arab country found itself in the grip of a rampant foreign-backed violence in 2011. Also on Tuesday, media reports said that ties between Damascus and Ankara would also be among the topics of Assad and Putin's talks during the Syrian president's stay. On your final report, inflation in the South American country of Argentina has risen past 100% for the first time since 1991, according to the government's latest consumer price index. The National Institute of Statistics and Census released its February report on Tuesday, pinpointing Argentina's annual inflation at 102.5% as the country continues to suffer from one of its worst economic crises in decades. In February alone, inflation rose to 6.6%, with food and beverages identified as the category of items most affected. The latest inflationary jump arrives as Argentina contends with a historic drought, its worst in nearly 60 years, and wildfires in areas like the northern Corrientes province. The country is a leading exporter of soybeans alongside the United States and Brazil, as well as other agricultural products like corn, wheat, and other grains. On Monday, the IMF announced it had reached a staff-level agreement to ease the country's economic targets under the new debt plan, citing the challenges of an increasingly severe drought. You're still watching us on ERi-TV, dear viewers, and now recap of the major headlines. Tour of inspection to developmental sites in Halhal subzone. International Women's Day celebrations in diaspora. Syrian president arrives in Moscow for talks with Russian president. And inflation in Argentina surges past 100% in historic spike. Dear viewers, that was it for today. Thanks for joining us.